That's right. You know what time it is, and I know what time it is because you know what? I'm here talking to you right now. It is time for Bacon on the Rocks, and I am Chuck Obernesser, along again with the great Chris Walsh.
Whoa.
And yes, great. I'll say
Whoa.
great. You're a great guy. I'm very excited for tonight.
That's quite a build-up. I don't know if I can live up to that.
You live up to it every day, Chris. You're doing great.
Right.
So, anyways, but we also have a special guest today. Down at the other end of the table, in case you didn't know, because we're saying socially distant, we have stuntman professional. I can't even list. There's so much this guy does, but the biggest thing that I have on this is this guy is a stuntman who's local, and his name is Paul Nandzik. Paul, what's going on?
How's it going?
Hey, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
We appreciate it. And I had to say, long time no see.
Right?
You know?
Yeah.
So just a little bit of background. Paul and I went to high school together. We ran track together. Did we do it?
I think
you didn't
we
do
were
any sport, but it was
we
track.
were lab partners as well, I think, right?
Was it the frog dissection one?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That must have been biology then, right?
Something like that. No, that was the pig.
Was it?
Yeah, because I don't want to give names. I was about to say the teacher's name and everything. No, it was in junior high that we had the frog, and then the pig was in high school with biology and Mr. And I'll leave the rest alone.
The fetal pig.
Yes. Yes.
The fetal pig.
But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, it's an honor. Thank you guys for having me on.
Oh no, I'm really excited because it's like I've been following you on Facebook and the things you've been doing, and I really wanted to just pick your brain. I know we've kind of always said, hey, we should get together, and it's just, who has time in this world anymore?
Well,
and I hate to say it like that, but it's just like things are so crazy. I mean, crazier now, but even back then. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this year alone has been 10 years, 15
Yeah,
years?
it feels
all
like
crammed
it.
together?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but before we get too far into this, I want to definitely hit up our sponsor here, Cookies Q and Creamery. With the way the weather's going, I just wanted to say, you can get some delicious stuff from Cookies right now that's hearty, delicious, and they'll deliver it. Because if you use DoorDash and go to cookiesq.com, you can get the Q bowls. Let me tell you, they have some delicious, delicious Q bowls, which have chicken or pork with mashed potatoes and gravy. And it's let me tell you, it's a hearty meal. It's probably 2 meals if you really for how big it is, it's about 2 meals. So if you're interested in getting some cookies, go online, go to cookiesq.com. You can definitely check out the menu, see everything they have, go with the bowls. There's even some salads in these bowls. So you can go healthy. A little healthier if you want. You can get, some salad or stuff like that. But the potato and gravy and chicken,
It's all good.
on the nights that are starting to get cold and dreary and wintry. So cookiesq.com, order up on DoorDash and they'll deliver it right to you. So thank you again, Cookies, for sponsoring us.
Yeah. Should we shout out Aircom while we're at it? We get a promo code for...
Ooh, that's right. Yeah, we also got that going on. In case you didn't pay attention, which... shame on you on last week's episode. Yep. Mike Brucker was here with Aircom, and he gave us a promo code. So if you're looking for some cool stocking stuffers or just something, just if you have a beard, if you have hair, whether you're a guy or a girl, as long as you got some hair on you, you know what? These combs are fantastic, and they last forever. And they're great gifts to give to the family, your loved ones, anybody that has hair that that needs a little bit of
anything
combing.
that can be combed.
I know, right? So
I'll let your imaginations run wild on that.
Yeah, so make sure you go to aircom.com, and when you're checking out, make sure to put in the promo code, or what was it? Yeah, promo code, probably that box.
Promo code BACON.
Yeah, put in BACON, and you know what? You'll get an awesome percentage off. So thank you again, Aircom, for that. So moving forward now, Paul.
Yes, hello.
Let's talk about this. Paul is, okay, wait, I want to make sure, because there's a list. He sent me this, and I couldn't believe it. All the things he's accomplished, and it's only been...
Impressive.
I was going to say, it's been 15 years, 20, I don't know. It's been a while since high school.
A little bit.
But let me tell you, it doesn't feel it.
Let's not date ourselves.
Yeah, that's why I stopped myself right there. So anyways, I'm going to read this right here. So Paul is best known for his stunt work, having stunt doubled for big names like Bill Burr and Paul Giamatti on feature films such as The King of Staten Island, Billions, Emergence, Escape. Oops, see, I lost my line. Escape at... What's that one, Paul? I'm sorry.
Escape at Dannemora.
Dannemora, is it? Okay, and Dick Johnson and Tommy Gunn versus the Cannibal Cop. Paul's been willingly to set himself on fire, be run down by a Jeep, flung off a speeding car in a warehouse, and flown around on wires. His own work has won festival awards, and he's even ran his own stunt team when he was living in Pittsburgh. But now he's back here locally, which I love that you're back.
Thank you.
And I want to talk about that in a little bit here. Outside of the world of stunts, Paul is also an actor, a writer, a producer, a director, and owns his own film production company, Dream Droids Productions. He was even a guest panelist for Three Rivers Screenwriters Conference in Pittsburgh. But if that's not enough, there's more.
Renaissance man.
Yeah, I know, right? He's also an EMT, a firefighter, a security officer, a husband, a father of one, and a caretaker of 2 dogs and 3 cats.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Big household.
And now I'll breathe. Holy cow, dude. How do you do it all?
I'm not sure, especially now. I mean, before becoming a father, it was definitely manageable. Now it's just kind of like pure, unadulterated Lovecraftian insanity.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's take it back a little bit here. So, high school is over. You've gone on.
Mm-hmm.
How did you decide stuntman was something that you even remotely wanted to do? Because that's a cool dream. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that would have been cool. You know, definitely when I was younger. But I mean, to actually go for it, what made you do that?
Oh man, I definitely didn't really think it through at the time. Because to me, like, I enjoyed films, but I didn't really like the notion of a stunt performer was not really in my world, you know. So, abbreviating the story very much, I owned a different business where I would go and sell T-shirts at comic conventions. And at the time, I was living in Pittsburgh. I lived in Pittsburgh for 12 years, so you know, a good chunk of time there. And befriended a local filmmaker by the name of Mike Watt and Amy Lynn Best. Hi, guys.
Shout out.
And one day they said, hey, you know, do you want to have a death scene in our feature film? And obviously I said, yeah, that'd be great. So I went, and it was fantastic. For any film buffs out there who are familiar with like Nightmare on Elm Street and the original Dawn of the Dead and like a billion other things, all those special effects are by the magic of Tom Savini. And he's got a school for special effects, or a program within a school, I should say, like 30, 40 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. So anyway, I say long story short, but anyway, they brought in a couple of the instructors who, you know, they worked on like Babylon 5, the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, not the show, and a bunch of other things. So anyway, they rigged me up with pyrotechnic squibs, which are little explosives that you strap on yourself because you're sane, and they explode out like gunpowder with blood.
Yep.
Right. So the character I was playing got shot 4 times. So it was a pretty big deal, especially since I'd never done that before.
Right.
And that clip has made it in every iteration of my stunt reel over the years.
Nice.
And since then, I've never run into pyrotechnic squibs again. It's always been either digital or pneumatic because they're safer and less expensive.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So like, I had a fantastic time. It was thrilling, but I didn't really think much of it. But then like a couple weeks later, a buddy of mine was like, "Oh, hey, you know, Dark Knight Rises is coming to town. They're casting. Why don't you come down?" And I was like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm not working that day, so sure, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And of course, he didn't get cast, but I did.
Nice.
So,
Chris, yeah.
you know, that's the universe. So yeah, I ended up being one of Bane's henchmen. I got some pretty decent screen time in the movie, escorting the bomb onto the field. Spoilers, sorry. And
See, I didn't know that one. I just saw the one picture you put on Facebook. I got to look again because my son's like, "Can I meet him?" I'm like, "Xavier, it's a school night. You got to get to bed." He was like trying to stay up every which way. He's like, "I want to meet him." He was on it. I was like,
He may be lurking somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to come downstairs.
Attaboy. Yeah, well, actually, so I had 2 different outfits on that one because I filmed for about, I think it was 2 weeks in Pittsburgh, and then the production was going to LA, and then it was going to New York City because they shot on Wall Street.
Yep.
And so there were like 50 out of 250 of us that they were like, "Hey, do you want to keep filming with us in New York? Because, you know, you've been responsible and good and everything." And I said, "Yeah, obviously." But I'm also, at the time, I was moving to Long Island. So I was like, "Oh, this is perfect. Like, I have a place
That
to
works.
stay."
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did that, and I got an extra, I think, week out of working with the veteran stunt performers.
Nice.
And I realized, oh my God, this is a career that you can do. Granted, then I spent about 3-4 years kind of running up against a wall, like, what am I supposed, like, how do you break into this? Because there's no, like, there's books about it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there are people who will talk to you about it, but I wasn't having much luck. And so after about 3-4 years, I figured it out. But yeah.
So do you have much interaction with, say, like Christopher Nolan or Tom Hardy on set, or?
Not really. I did talk to some of the other actors less well known, like the physicist who constructed the bomb.
Yep.
I had a great conversation with him. I had a great conversation with one of the lead henchmen for Bane.
Okay.
And just kind of like talking shop about acting and how you get into it and all that sort of stuff. And one of the wonderful things too, actually, is everybody I'm going to say everybody in film, but definitely everybody in stunts has a different story about how they got in.
Yeah.
Because there's some people too who are just like they're just fight guys, or I'm saying guys, but across genders.
Sure.
Fight people, we'll say.
Fight person.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They're just drivers. They're just water people. They're just high fall people. Whatever. Usually, people have a specialty that they devote themselves to.
Yeah.
Is it something though, like where could you do more than one, or is it you want to be so good at that one specific that you pretty much just stay that way, or is there some out there that it's like, yeah, I can do this one, I can do that, like kind of broad.
Yeah.
Do it all.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I definitely fall into the camp of like I want to be able to be at least competent in everything.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about fighting for film, as one specific thing, is it's very different from actual fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like really you don't have to know a bunch of martial arts. You just have to know enough to make it look good.
Okay.
Which is a nice little cheat, we'll say.
Yeah.
But it helps if you actually know the martial art too. But you also have to understand that it's different. Because I've seen a lot of very athletic, very talented people who don't understand, like, like how do you, I don't know how you frame the shot. I don't know how you stack. I don't know how you, whatever.
Yeah.
And that just, it takes, like, if I were to pretend to hit you and you can clearly see I'm not hitting you, even if your reaction is spot on, like, it ruins the whole thing.
Yep.
But there are some people, like, I think, in my opinion, the best stunt drivers are out of the UK.
Really? Okay.
And they devote themselves, my understanding is they devote themselves to driving, and they do, like, if you YouTube or whatever video service you want to use, but if you look up, I think it's just called the roster, the stunt roster or something like that.
Yeah.
That's their version of SAG-AFTRA. They do amazing things that I can only, like, I feel overwhelmed just dreaming about. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, some of the stuff, like, they'll just like do a power slide into a parking spot in between two cars, and just like there's like a half an inch on either side, and they do it perfect every time, just again and again and again. Just that
That's
consistency.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what is your like specialty? Like, what have you really kind of focused on the most? I know it says in here lighting yourself on fire, but is that like your main one, or what?
No.
What do you feel?
It.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it.
And yeah, he's a firefighter. There's a little contradictory there going. I was going to bring that up too, by the way.
Well, one career leads to another.
I know, right?
Right. It does. It does.
Once you light yourself on fire, you got to be able to put yourself out.
Yeah. Well, there's some truth to that.
Yeah. Stop, drop, and roll.
Well, that doesn't work well with stunts, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've got the
contact cement or whatever. Is that what they use?
It
just
varies.
accelerant on you?
But
or?
yeah, they put accelerant, and then so if you stop, drop, and roll, you're just spreading it around, the fire around on the ground.
Yeah, they got to throw a blanket on them.
So it's like the Back to the Future car. You just leave a trail.
Well, yeah.
That's how
Just
they
go
did
88
it.
miles an hour. And,
You guys didn't tell me that.
But no, I would say probably fighting and any kind of falling, but high falling. I don't really like doing high falls.
Okay.
I'm a little bit with heights in general. I've gotten a lot better about it, but for me, the level of risk to any possible compensation, I'm just not interested.
Okay, good. Because I have a question since you said that now. I watch behind the scenes stuff, this and the other thing, when people do the falling parts. Why are you falling into cardboard boxes? Why is that a thing it's like,
It's
that doesn't seem
amazing.
too effective.
No, it seems
I've fallen on a
suicidal.
box and it hurts, especially if the corner's right there.
But were there things inside the box?
No, but the corner. I mean, I'm like, if I knew if I was doing this stuff, I'm like, I'm going to land on that damn corner right there. It's just going to boom. That's what's going to happen.
So I've never done like a legitimate high fall into cardboard boxes. I've only done it into an airbag.
Yes, that's what you use. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's actually, believe it or not, it's actually, from what I understand, and I don't have a great grasp on all of the particulars of high fall. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But my understanding is the cardboard boxes are actually safer.
Really?
Because there's no like bounce back. Is that what it is?
That's part of it.
Part of it.
There was someone who I trained with briefly out on the West Coast. She landed wrong, and and it's funny too because you have to fall in a different way doing a high fall into an airbag versus just like doing a footfall on the ground. So she basically did like a footfall version.
Yeah.
And her knee came back, hit her in the forehead, and she had to be hospitalized. I'm not sure how bad it was,
geez,
but
yeah.
it's bad enough to be in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So
Interesting.
So yeah, you got to be careful.
I just never. I saw boxes. I'm like, that cannot be comfortable. I mean, are we just trying to save on the budget for the film? It's like, screw you,
budget.
stuntman.
No.
It's like, no. Well, the budget's gotten a little expensive here, so airbags are out, guys. We got boxes today.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the airbags are expensive.
Yeah, but
But yeah, one of the nice things about them is they're very reusable. Whereas with the cardboard boxes, once you land on them, you got to toss them and get new ones in. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there are specific configurations that you have to set them up to be effective as well. But yeah, it's all about displacing the air and whatever impact zones.
there's a lot of stuff behind it. I mean, I knew there was a reason. I would always look at them like, that can't be comfortable. I don't know. But
Well, if you're falling, you may be wearing some body pads as well.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
It wouldn't hurt to, as long as they're not showing. Like that's one of the big things. As much as you can, you're wearing as many body pads. In American stunts, if you're doing
Kong.
like, you're just like, I watched a movie and it wasn't the greatest movie in the world in terms of like cinematic visual storytelling. But the stunts were great, and obviously that's what the film was sold on.
Yep.
And there was a scene where this guy fell on one of those, those like concrete poles, that, like for backing up, semi trucks and stuff like that.
Yep.
He just fell like straight on his back, and he was topless, wasn't wearing a shirt. I'm like, how did they do that? And then I watched the behind the scenes during the credits, like what Jackie Chan does.
Yep.
And like, people got hurt. Yeah.
So it wasn't like a rubber.
No, it was
fake
just
concrete thing?
He ate that concrete.
Oh wow.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, that's not a good day.
Yeah. Jackie Chan is he's broken basically every bone I think you can break.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know he had a tough time transitioning from working in Hong Kong to working in America.
They wouldn't let him do anything.
Right. And he's like, oh, I can just go and like run. Like, no, we're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna make sure you survive. He's
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what is your feeling on that? Like like Tom Cruise is always bragging how he does his own stunts and things like. I mean, is that something you'd be like, yeah, they can? And I know there's like different levels,
Sure.
of whatever they're doing, but like he was just jumping across a building and he broke his ankle or something. I think.
it.
Yeah.
he broke his
Yeah.
ankle.
So
Broke
yeah,
or
it's
sprained
like
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do you feel that they draw the line? I mean, do they just demand and say, I'm doing this, or
I mean, it depends. And I think, so Tom Cruise specifically is an interesting point within the stunt community that I'll just acknowledge
Yep.
and move on. But I know there's been like some backlash like on Captain Marvel and stuff like that, where actors will say, oh, I did all my own stunts. And then some people come in and say, but I was there and I did X and then Y and Z and the stunt coordinator was there and whatever. I think part of it is there's a bit of a misunderstanding in terminology.
Yeah.
So like, yes, there are actors who will do their own stunts. The more valuable you are as an actor, the less stunts generally you're allowed to do for insurance purposes. At least that's my understanding. But so like when I doubled for Bill Burr, he wanted to. This was on The King of Staten Island. The big gag. Well, one of them he didn't let me do, which was fine because he just got into it and he just did it on his own. It's cool. But the other one, it was climbing up a ladder. Responding to a fire, and there's a giant, like a 25-foot gasoline explosion that comes out of a window, 25 feet out, and it curls up another 25 feet. And he wanted to do it. He wanted to do, like, we were talking about some of the other stuff too. That was a lot more dangerous than even that, and like he just was not being allowed to do it, which is okay. We got off topic. I'm sorry.
No, that's
well, not off topic, but like I don't remember what was the original question.
just like what you're feeling about, like, actors wanting to do their own. Stunts and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff is, it's funny. So some of the stuff you get hired for, you probably wouldn't necessarily expect. So sometimes it might be like within the realm of like, you might consider. Like there was a show I got hired for. I was doubling for an actor, and I did not see any screen time whatsoever. But all he was doing was he had a replica rifle, and he was firing it and then like taking cover, and then firing it and taking cover, and that's it. The actor was a great person, and he had like actual firearms experience, so he felt comfortable.
Yeah.
And he could do it. I was there really just for safety.
Yep.
And taking behind the scenes footage so he could show his wife what he did for the day. But I got paid the same.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, hey, as long as you made money, right? I mean,
yeah,
it sucks.
yeah.
I mean, I want to be on as well, but
well, it makes it a little bit less exciting.
Yeah.
But it's still cool to be part of the process. And I love, I'm more than just a stunt performer, because there's kind of a divide in, now I'm starting to get off topic. Feel welcome to reel me back in at any time. But there is, in my experience, a bit of a divide between types of stunt performers. There are those of us who, are also writers and directors and producers, and there are others of us that are only performers, or only performers and coordinators.
Yeah.
It takes it's a very specific skill set to design action as a stunt coordinator, and a lot of people, just like anyone, including stunt performers, don't understand that it's or don't seem to grasp that it is a separate skill set. And just because you're good at performing stunts, which is admirable in its own right,
It's all good. We got it.
But like I said, it's a completely different skill set. The way that I explain it to people is, let's say you have an assassin character. Well, okay, great. Is your assassin character, how is he or she assassinating people? Is it through poison? Because that's, one way to do it. But what about a sniper rifle? What about, using a blade, or, you can, like any way that you want to do it, right?
Yep.
But that tells you something specific about that character, right? And the world that they live in. So it's choices like that, like, well, why did he do a punch instead of a kick? It can be as flippant as just like, I don't know, I thought it'd be cool. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, well, he's really angry. So like, that's why the Hulk punches things. He's angry. Like, he's not using devices, and, it's part of the character. So yeah, it's all about telling the story. If you do stunts just for the sake of like spectacle, it's gratuitous. It's cool, but it only goes so far. If you build that in, like, I know we're going to talk about Star Wars.
What? No.
So in Empire Strikes Back, really anything in the old trilogy, or the original trilogy, the lightsaber fighting is, it's not very complex.
Sure.
But it's so emotionally charged that, like, I go back and I find clips, and I just watch those clips, and I get really excited because I know the emotion that's building up into it, and what's fueling that conflict, because it's just an extension of the character's conflict.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what it should be anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I'm going to take 1 minute of a timeout. What's the time? 25. I hit record on that, right? You see red? Okay, good. We're still going, folks. Okay, back to the show. I just, all of a sudden, I had a mini heart attack. I'm like, I do not remember hitting the red button. Yep. Hey, this is podcasting at its best. What can I tell you?
There we go.
It happens.
I want to go back. I want to go way back.
Sure. Yeah, please.
Very.
I'm certain there's a question I did not fully answer.
So your first stunt
We're back in school.
with the squibs.
Yep.
And you have zero experience with this at the time?
Yeah.
Or even since, like you said?
Oh, yeah, 0 cents.
Okay. So do you have any like sort of training before they do this? Or do they just kind of like...
A lot of it's learn on the job.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So do they have like a stunt coordinator that handled explosives? And
not on that one
No.
that I was aware of.
Okay.
They had...
Is that unnerving for you?
No, actually. The thing that made me nervous was that we only had one take to get it.
Yep.
And so I was like, well, hold on a second. Can we do a dry run? And
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we did, and we worked out, whatever. I like it in my stunt reel because you don't hear my voice, which goes like 8 octaves higher because I was nervous. So I'm like, no, and I just sound horrible.
Oh, so like you were like reacting to like don't shoot or
Yeah,
something like that?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually really cool. So the movie is called Razor Days, if anyone wants to check it out. I love the concept of it, which is basically and I hope I'm not spoiling it for anyone. I hope I'm selling it.
Spoiler
alert.
We just throw that out there.
This has been out for a while though, right? So
Yeah. It doesn't matter. We're alerting you. We're done. We're covered. Okay.
But it's a really, really interesting concept. I'm jealous that I didn't come up with it. But it's, at the end of any traditional horror film, there's one female who survives, right? Mm-hmm. Just the trope. So the concept behind this film was there were 3 females who survived who met each other, completely different murder episodes, met each other in group therapy and were like, hey, let's go get revenge and like murder people. Which is great. But then as they're going along, they're like, I don't know. Like, is this the guy? And one of them just like, it don't matter. We're going to murder him. Murder. And so like it twists everything on its head. And it's
you were the
really
guy?
ingenious. I was maybe one of the
Maybe
guys.
the guy.
Yeah.
You'll have to find out. You'll have to watch to find out. So
Yeah. So walk me through it though. These squibs go off. What's it feel like?
You don't really feel it.
No?
You just
that's
react to the sound.
Okay.
Yeah. Because so what they do is there's a metal plate that is like taped to your chest or wherever. In my case, it was to my chest, and that's to protect you. And then there's a charged explosive put on top of that.
Perfect.
And then, and then there's which is connected to a wire, and that runs down in my case, under my shirt and down my pant leg. And out to, like, it's hardwired in, so it's not like a remote thing, which you can do.
Yep.
But, with all the radio waves and
interference could be a
there,
bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to risk it. The chance is very nominal.
But still.
But yeah, why risk it?
You got one take on this particular shot. So.
Well, I mean, even if you had a million takes, like, why?
Yeah,
you're at crafty talk. I mean, you shouldn't be at crafty talking someone with explosives strapped to you, but, you don't want to give anyone a surprise. But yeah, then you've got, so there's the metal plate, the explosive, the blood packet, and then you've got your wardrobe over that. Mm-hmm. So it literally blasts a hole through your wardrobe.
Okay.
So I was never wearing that shirt again, which was okay. I was told that in advance. So
do you still have the shirt?
you know what? I don't remember. I saved it for at least a long time.
Yeah.
And I think I might have just thrown it out.
Oh man, you'll regret that someday.
I know. I had it in a like a poster.
This
frame.
is when Grandpa blew himself up in a movie.
For the first time. But yeah, the biggest thing was in reacting. Normally, what happens is like you get punched, you get kicked, you get stabbed, shot, whatever.
Yeah.
You touch wherever that is, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a normal human reaction, and it helps sell the shot. Mm-hmm. But with this, because there's an explosion, you don't do that because you're going to lose fingers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I had to, and like every time I see it, no one else is going to notice this, and I know it. But every time I see it, I'm reacting in the opposite way. So I've got 4 shots going across my body. Mm-hmm. So when this shot goes off, I'm going like this when I should be going like this.
Okay.
But like whatever, no one's going to notice. No one's going to care.
Yep.
It still bothers me though. But
there's always you're your own worst critic. It's always the way everybody is. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think one of the and this isn't like not saying ill about anybody because this is just what happened and I never complained about it. But there was one of the charges. I don't know if there was a little bit extra in there.
Yep.
Or it was just happened to be I don't want to say misplaced, but like. The way that I was reacting, it was just poor timing. But basically, there was one, I got shot up in the shoulder, and I happened to have my head over here when that one went off. Okay. So, like, my ear was ringing all day, but, like, my hearing is fine. I mean, I've got selective hearing. Sorry, wife. Thanks, kid.
I was going to say married, of course.
According to the wife, yeah.
What guy doesn't? Wait, what? No.
But yeah, and that was actually that kind of helped me in the moment react because the explosion warmed up the blood as it sprayed across my face. So I was like, oh, okay, like yeah, that's. And then after that, the hardest part was just staying still and trying not to breathe too hard, because then the director decided in the moment that, oh god, oh, this is good, because I had all the blood packets were fairly sizable, all things considered.
Yeah.
So as I like fell down and hunched over, all the blood was just gushing
Yeah,
out
yeah,
of the
yeah,
packs. So they rushed in with the camera to get the shot. I don't remember if that made it in the movie or not, but I mean, it was a great instinct to get that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So would you say that's common nowadays that they do that digitally instead of using squibs?
Yeah. I don't think it's as much of a spectacle, if you will.
Sure.
Like, look, just visually, I think it looks better using the pyro.
Yeah.
But I understand it's a lot more expensive. There's a lot more logistics that you have to worry about. Obviously, it's riskier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pneumatic ones are nice, but like they're a nice happy medium between
Yeah.
the two, because I think they look better if they're done right. They can look terrible too.
They can, yeah.
But so can the digital ones. But the digital ones have come a long way. Like,
right.
I know, I'm not going to say which season because I don't clearly remember because it's been a long time. But I know The Walking Dead transitioned from the pneumatic squibs to digital.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most of the time it looked fine, if not great.
Yeah.
You know, so it depends on your team. It depends on what you're looking for. It depends on your budget.
Yeah. You think about those like 80s action movies, like
God,
I don't
so
know,
good.
Die Hard had like over the top
Yeah.
blood. I remember the one where the guy's like running towards the John McClane's like behind a desk or something, and then he shoots the guy in like the legs, I think, and then he falls into the glass or something, and it's just like the squibs going off, and his legs were just like so like disgusting looking.
My favorite is the original RoboCop.
Oh yeah,
Was it Ed 209? I think it was. Whatever the big mech was.
Yep.
He malfunctioned, just like
shoots the guy in the conference room or whatever.
Yeah. It was just, I mean, clearly intentionally over the top, but
Right.
So good.
Got it. Use it.
Yeah.
It's in the budget.
So do you have like a favorite stunt you performed?
That I've performed?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, generally, I really enjoy doing wire work. It's just fun. And
As far as like wire foo or
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, like really anything. But yeah, I like the wire foo and stuff like that.
Okay.
Initially I started out just, I went to the International Stunt School, and they just had, a little bit of everything there, which was great to get exposed to. While I was in Pittsburgh, toward the end of it, I was like, you know what? I just want to do more.
Okay.
And I wasn't in the union yet, which I had intentionally been putting off joining SAG-AFTRA so that I could have the flexibility to literally say, I want to do wire foo. I'm going to build an entire movie, short film around doing this so I can put it in my reel.
Okay.
That's what I did. And that was a lot of fun. It wasn't perfect just because I was ambitious as I am. And we got short on time. So we had to, we didn't get too fancy with the camera angles and stuff like that. But, but I mean, that was a ton of fun doing that. I love doing stair falls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the earlier memories with my now wife. At the time we were dating, and it was so initially. Funny story. People in Pittsburgh didn't know me as a stunt performer, even though that's what I was doing. They knew me as a writer, producer, director, because that was the big thing I'd done. I shot a TV pilot, and that was kind of like my coming out in the area.
Okay.
Like I'd worked on things before, but that was what people recognized me for, because it was a really nice production value. But anyway, so a couple buddies of mine were doing a crowdfunder for their short film, and one of their things was they're giving away a death scene. So I was like, you know what? No one actually, like, every time I talk to people, they're like, okay, Paul, sure, you're a stunt guy. And so finally I was like, you know what? All right, I'm going to throw these guys some money. I'm going to pay them to let me do a stunt.
Okay. This is working backwards here.
Right?
Yeah.
But, it was a great investment. I got the gig, right? And I told them, like, this is the sort of stuff I want to do. And they're like, okay, well, like, can you take a kick and get thrown downstairs? I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Child's play.
And they actually expanded it a little bit more once we started working together. And like, oh, like, this guy actually like knows what he's doing. Cool. And before I backtrack real quick, just to put an end to that line of storytelling, thereafter they're like, okay, we're going to use you every time. for every one of our movies that need stunts, we're using you. And they, you know,
Nice.
recommended me, and you know, it was great for progressing my stunt career. But back to that particular story with the wife, because of the stair fall, she was on set. I think she was helping out with makeup, or maybe she was just there as a guest. I forget, because she was also involved in film. But yeah, she was in the holding area, and she could hear me falling down the stairs, which she described as if you put bricks in a dryer. And initially she was, you know, concerned because it sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But she said, you know, every time you came up the stairs, you had a big smile and you were like bounding. I was like, okay, he's crazy, but he's fine.
Yeah.
Let him do it. So I think I did it probably like a dozen times.
Really?
Okay. Now that's just a normal set of stairs, not like rubber stairs or anything like that.
Yeah, it was wooden stairs.
Boy.
There's definitely, as you get experience with doing stair falls, you start paying attention to people's stairs a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah.
Look at those stairs.
Because, you know, falling on wood stairs, that's a lot more comfortable than falling on, I don't know, like marble steps.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, up to, say, you know, City Hall or a church or you know, whatever. Yeah.
So is there like a technique to it?
A little bit of a technique.
Yeah.
A lot of it is, you know, tucking your chin into your chest so you don't give yourself concussion.
Sure.
It's helpful.
Yeah, totally.
Production appreciates that.
Another part of it, too, is wearing as many pads as you can, within reason, obviously.
Right. Do you have like an outfit or something?
I
Like,
do,
like
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So every stunt performer has their own stunt bag, and like it's a whole thing. You can just, if you ever meet another stunt performer, just be like, oh, hey, tell me about your stunt bag. Like it's a whole freaking conversation.
Okay. So tell me about your stunt bag.
Oh, wow.
Well, since you asked.
You try to have, you know, like basic hips, elbows, knees for like actors you're doubling for, in case they don't have something, or in case the stunt coordinator doesn't have anything, or doesn't have anything on hand, whatever. But I mean, there's so many different things. People have what's called jerk vests, and
Okay.
a lot of that's for, you know, flying around on wires.
Yeah.
And like I really like the slim stuff, because it bothers me when I can see that, like, oh, like I'm wearing, you know, pads under this. Like I don't want to break that illusion, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So I've got all these slim, they're made out of like this high tech foam essentially, but they're harder anyway. And then you want to get, but they're considered soft shell, if
Okay.
you will. And then
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
hard shell for, like, you know, like when I got flung off a car onto concrete.
Okay.
I wore hard pads for that.
Yeah. I could imagine.
I mean, soft would have been better than nothing for sure, but and I still, you know, cracked my head. I probably had a concussion. I don't know, but I definitely had road rash, which was interesting because after I did the stunts, people were coming up to me. They're like, oh, you know, like, regardless of, oh, that was great. They're like, oh, makeup did a really good job on that head wound. I'm like, what? Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Get to a mirror. But yeah, and there's just all sort of like some of the stuff too you can use to help hide your stunt pads a little bit, moleskin. You just got to try to, you know, match your skin tone to it. And you can use that. But yeah, and there's just, it's a whole amalgamation of different things. Like I have a military duffel bag full of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So walk me through the process of, like, Bill Burr needs a stunt double.
Sure.
So how do you end up with that job?
Right. So, oh man, the world of getting a gig in stunts is interesting. And I approached it initially with great hesitation, but now actually I really love it. So I think we're the only part of the film industry that there's this expectation for us to basically crash a set. So literally unannounced, uninvited, well, sometimes announced, but usually unannounced, uninvited, just show up to a set that's filming and find the stunt coordinator, make sure that he or she is not like in the middle of something, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, so you may be waiting around for like an hour or two, whatever it may be, luck of the draw. But yeah, you go up to him or her and just, you know, quick handshake. Hey, you know, I'm so-and-so, and, you know, give me a job.
Okay. So that's common. You just show up.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow,
That's like a unique part of the industry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you just show up, and usually, I mean, everyone's really good about it. Basically, as long as you don't act like a jerk on set. You know, production assistants would be like, "Oh yeah, you know, was he expecting you? No, okay, well just wait over here, and you know, we'll radio in and whatever." So, yeah, it's been interesting. Obviously, you have to have confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To go do that. And you know, the more known you are, the more likely it is for people, as long as it's positive.
Yeah.
If you're known as a jerk, then you're probably not going to get called. You might be the best, the most talented stunt performer in the world, but if people are not enjoying themselves around you,
Sure.
you're not going to get called.
Yeah.
But yeah, so specifically for the Bill Burr one, I'm struggling to remember the exact start of it. Not that anyone else is really going to care, but
You could make it. You could make it up right now. No one
I
would know.
could. Now I know I hustled this particular stunt. Oh, did I just get muted?
No, sorry, I'm choking. I drank a little bit of water. I keep coughing. I was trying to mute me and Chris quick because you're all the way down there. That's Chuck messing around. Sorry.
Chuck needs a stunt performer for his water.
I do right now. Holy
water
cow. Sorry, continue.
No, it's all good.
Paul, can you step in down here and just
Yeah,
show him
Sure,
how
totally.
And I'm out. Just like that. See, I wasn't courteous. I mute my guest. That's how good I am.
I forgive.
Anyways, yes.
But yeah. So I remember I'd hustled this particular stunt coordinator because I had just moved back to the area, and he was coordinating on a film that was shooting literally 8 minutes down the road. So I was like, oh crap, I gotta go meet this guy, and I've heard such good things, and so I went and I met him, and he's great guy, but he's very, very straightforward, which I appreciate, and I think everyone in the industry appreciates. He's like, look, number one, today's the last day that we're shooting any stunts, so obviously I'm not hiring you because we don't have time.
Yeah.
And it was like toward the end of the day too. He's like, but also I don't know who you are, so
Yeah.
But here's the process for getting me your information and so on and so forth. So I followed that, and I think this one must have been it was the first time he'd contacted me. So he just sent me a text message, said, hey, are you available such and such dates? Do you want to come down and we'll let production take a look at you and see if you're a good fit. I said, yeah, I'll come down. It's like, all right, well, you're not getting compensated for this, just FYI. Like, this is just you coming down. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'll come down. Sure. So I went down. It was up between a couple of people, but ultimately I got it, which was great.
Yeah.
And that was when, for that particular day, because there was someone else who had been doubling for Bill, and he's a cool guy. And so I don't want to take anything away from him. And I'm not sure why for this one they brought me in, not complaining, but they brought me in. And I ended up not doing anything because Bill was just like, oh, I don't know, like, I'm not sure I'm going to do this one thing. And like, you're good to step in for me, right? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. He's like, all right, cool. And then he just like got into character because in that part of the scene, he gets like really emotional really quickly. And he just did the whole thing himself. It was fantastic to watch. And the riffing that they were doing, just the improv on set was great.
Yeah.
But I know later on for like the fire explosion I was talking about before, that was just like every single, main character was on screen doing dangerous things. So they just needed the guy who had been his regular double had to double for someone else.
Okay.
So then they brought me in to double for Bill again, which was great. But yeah, I mean, basically it's just at the point where I'm at now, because I'm not brand new to the area. It's mostly, word of mouth and text message like, hey, do you have availability on such dates? And then you go from there. Yeah. And it's not guaranteed. Frequently they're like, oh, what does the back of your head look like? All right, let me figure out how to do this in the bathroom. Yeah. But yeah. And then if they think you're a good fit, they bring in for they'll bring in for a fitting. Sometimes it's on the same day, sometimes it's a different day. And yeah. So now you have to do the COVID testing as well, of course.
Oh yeah. Have you done anything since the outbreak?
Yes and no. I have not done any stunt things. I've had a couple opportunities come by, but I was not hired for them. Just nature of the biz.
Yep.
I did work one day as a COVID safety officer, somewhat ironically, which was fun. It was basically just kind of, reminding people, mostly reminding the actors, because when they're in the scene, they're not wearing their masks.
Yeah.
Sure.
So just making sure that they remember to put it back on afterwards. They're not just wandering around.
Yeah.
Without them.
Is that what a film set's like now? Like the actors are without their mask on, but everyone else is kind of running around doing.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, on that one at least. Yeah,
Okay.
everybody had. I mean, the actors had them on as well. Just obviously not when they're being filmed.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. I know it's costing productions a lot of money.
Yeah.
I know I was talking to a line producer the other day, and she said that one of the films that she worked on, which was an independent film, so budget's going to be a little bit lower. I think they were spending $70,000 on COVID testing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Inflates the budget a little.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking, if that's what it costs for like a major Marvel movie or something like that, like that's just a drop in the bucket. That's,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Stunt department will spend more than that, But yeah, it's. I think it's less. Well, it's always about the money.
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
But I think a big part of it is the logistics of it, because there's suddenly this delay in being able to move and do what you need to do to get the film.
Yeah.
So are you working like they call you? Do you go back to Pittsburgh? Do you go down to New York City, or what do you?
Most of the time, I'm going to like New York City and surrounding area, and including New Jersey.
Okay.
I love going back to Pittsburgh anytime I can.
Yeah.
Because it's a great city. It's such a big town with a small town feel, or I should say, a big city with a small town feel.
Yep.
A lot of great culture, great people. Friendlier drivers, I'll say, than New York. as a
Really?
whole. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't think New York drivers have a great reputation.
New York City, I'll give
Yeah.
New York City maybe not, because let me tell you, when I get down there, it always takes me about 20, 30 minutes, but then I get right into their mode of where they are for driving, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, here we go. But I'm like thinking around, sorry, when I think of New York, I'm thinking around here. I'm like, I'm probably the crazy one around
This is
here.
central New York. So.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, now if you ask my wife, she'll say that, Pennsylvania and New York drivers are horrible compared to West Virginia drivers, because she's from West Virginia. Granted, she's from Looneyville, so, take it with a grain of salt, but.
Yeah.
I did not say that.
No, that was all me. Sorry, honey.
Nothing but love. Nothing but love. So I was gonna say, so we were talking when we were discussing doing this and everything about the Mandalorian. So the new season came out.
Yep.
From your perspective, I mean, I'm not even trying to think what stunts is.
Well, I think most of.
A lot of it's.
I think
digital.
it's a stunt guy in the suit.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Isn't it? John Wayne's grandson, I believe, was one of the guys.
Oh,
I think I think John Wayne's grandson. Like you said, there's one guy who's like the fighting guy, and then there's the other guy who's like the stunt guy, and I don't know, I forget which one he is, but I'm almost positive I read that somewhere or something.
I don't know. See, I thought and I could be mistaken, because I admittedly have not done as much research as I should have, or kept up with the hype. But I thought the performer who was playing
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. I thought he was like straight up a stunt performer.
It may be,
but I could be mistaken.
From what I've read of the production, he's not on set very often, and he's basically just doing voice work.
Oh, it could be. I know. He definitely does. I mean, you have to do it when you're wearing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not on the set, so I don't know. But I think they only showed his face in the first season once, and that possibly was maybe the only time he was actually on set. I don't know though. I know I've read that the majority of the time it's a stunt performer in the costume.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that would make sense. And it's a role that's very conducive to a stunt performer playing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of memes online about just give the stunt performer can say this one line, right? And
Yeah.
But there is a divide because there are definitely stunt performers who are good actors.
Yeah.
You know, but there's also stunt performers that
Yeah.
you know, you don't want to trust them opening their mouth.
Yeah.
And I just think it's funny how like you look at how it's a stunt performer in that, and then you look at the other parallel of the original Star Wars, and all it is they're putting the voiceover, a voice actor, over the stuntman. Am I going right on this, or no? Am I not following correctly?
What do you mean, like the Darth Vader?
Well, that's where I'm leading to.
Okay.
But I'm saying like with the Mandalorian, so it's a stunt person in the outfit, but you got a voice actor doing the voice.
Right. Well, I mean, he's a full-fledged actor, but
Well, yeah.
yeah.
But so it's just funny how with the Mandalorian now, the same thing was with Darth Vader, and
Right.
that it was like the actor just had the right build, but they didn't like his voice, and so then they changed
Yeah.
his voice and had
James Earl Jones.
Yes, thank you. I didn't know if I was right. That's why I paused. I was like, I know it is, but I don't want to be.
And apparently he didn't know right up until the premiere that his voice had been replaced.
I can't
So
imagine. That
just those
must
two
have been-
parallels together, and how it's the same franchise, and they're still kind of doing that. But you know, hey, when you're wearing a mask, you never know how it's going to turn out.
True. Yeah. True.
Can't say listen, you just say the head nod. And
Have
get
they
motion.
done anything on that show, like stunt-wise, that has impressed you?
I mean, it's all. I think it's kind of all impressive.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of stunts. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And you know, if you break it all down, technically speaking, anything more than like a speed walk is considered a stunt. So like running is a stunt and whatever, you know,
Okay,
and it
yeah.
depends, you know, from production to production, how safe they want to be. And certainly the actors, you know, if they feel uncomfortable with something, then obviously you're going to get a stunt performer to do it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, they've got a ton of fighting. They've got a ton of wire work. Like every time he uses the grapple, that's wire work.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And it's all, I mean, it's obviously all being enhanced with CGI, which is awesome. Because it makes things much more possible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But man, I wasn't thinking about that when I was watching because I was just enjoying. Because when it first came out, I watched it and I was like, oh man, like between the hype and like they're kind of leaning a little too hard into the Western cliches.
Yeah.
Like they were doing the little Western whistle every time he was
Yeah.
on scene.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really like this.
Yeah.
And then we talked about it. I was like, you know what? I really like Westerns. Let me give it another chance. And it's, I accepted that, yeah, they're going to do that. And that's cool. Like, there's no problem with that. It's a trope that I think if they didn't do that, people would be upset.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, sometimes I just have to readjust my perspective.
Yeah.
And then I really enjoyed it. Like the storytelling is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because there is so much action and it's all motivated. I'm struggling to think of any instance where it felt like, did they really need to, do whatever? But like, no.
Yeah.
It was all good.
So, like, the costume presents advantages and challenges to stunt work, right? Because like you were saying earlier, you don't even really have to hide the padding. Like it could be legit padding that just looks like his armor, but the fact that he's wearing like the helmet and he's got limited vision and stuff like that, like especially with like the fight scenes. Like I think I read somewhere that not the Mandalorian wasn't in that scene, but the scene with the armor where she fights the stormtroopers in the last episode. I think I read somewhere online that they did something ridiculous, like 146 takes of that, and I was thinking,
wow.
I was thinking to myself, like, well, it's kind of a complex scene, but I was like, that seems excessive. But then it's like, you think like they're all wearing bucket head, like the stormtroopers are wearing helmets, she's wearing a helmet, so it was probably a lot of like smashing into each other and not getting the blocking right and all that.
Well, I think also there's the potential nuance of the lingo, a shot versus a take.
Sure.
So, and depending on, because they're doing, anytime they have to cut the camera and do a different
I'd have to go
section,
back and
different
watch
take. But,
and see.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit of both, because I know before I got into film, doing the comic convention circuit, there were a lot of cosplayers, right?
Yep.
Like the Vader's 501st.
Yep.
Who I had a lot of really good friends there, and they would tell me, like, it doesn't matter what stormtrooper, it could be a scout trooper, it could be a stormtrooper, desert trooper, whatever. It doesn't matter. Even the Mandalorian helmets, you really can't see anything.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was even like, if I'm like, you're here and I'm talking to you, like, I'm not ignoring you. I just, like, that's the only way I can see is out the side of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man,
Yeah. So wait, you're saying his head turns inside the helmet? Like
No, like not inside the helmet, but just like we would be having a conversation like this.
Okay.
So like I'm facing, like he would be facing away from us, and it was almost like you're meeting a shady contact, in a darkened alley kind of thing.
Okay.
That's the way that I chose to think of it. But yeah.
Come here, bud.
Yeah, you can't see.
Got some watches. You want to see these watches down here? Come on down.
Genuine Imperial.
That's great. Do you have anything else with The Mandalorian? Because I had another question after that.
No.
Okay. So my question too is: so all the movies you've ever seen, like, what's the one that you're like, that's been the most amazing movie with all the stunts? Like, is there anything that you love the most that you're just like you just keep watching it over and over again because you're like, that's just awesome?
Yeah.
What's your movie?
And I'm so thrilled that my daughter loves my favorite fight scene. I showed it to her when she was maybe younger than 18 months, and she loves it, which is great. But it's the fight scene in the training room in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Okay.
Because the storytelling on that, again, that's what's motivating the action. And there's so much nuance without the characters having to say anything. Just like when the sequence starts out, the student, the rogue student, is looking at Green Destiny, the sword, and it's just like, you can tell she's nervous. Like, she's got this great weapon, but is it enough? Is her training enough? Because she's kind of untested. Versus a veteran who knows her stuff and just has conventional weaponry, right? And they just go back and forth, and there's a really funny moment where the veteran grabs, and I'm sorry, I forgot all the characters' names, but she grabs
the Michelle Yeoh character.
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
Michelle Yeoh. Yeah.
She grabs one of the, I don't even know what the weapon is called, but like it's a gigantic weighted staff, and she grabs it and goes to make an attack, which the student's like, oh! Obviously, I'm hyperbole a little bit, but still, she's hesitant and backing up, but then she can't lift it up, and so it falls back, and like there's this comedic moment where again, no one's saying anything, and it's not overt. It's very subtle in their facial expressions, And so the student's like, I got you now.
Yeah.
And then of course by the end of it, the veteran shows that shows her stuff by turning her opponent's advantage into a disadvantage. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the scene, Green Destiny, the awesome sword, just keeps cutting everything in half, right? Every weapon that she uses. So finally she uses a big sword, and I don't want to say lets her cut it in half, but like we'll say lets her cut it in half so that she can then bring it into like a killing blow. But she she doesn't kill her, she just like positions it to say like, hey, I got you now. But anyway, it'd be way better to just see the clip. But again, just the level of storytelling that went into it, and just there wasn't a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of filmmakers, in my experience, to me, telling story through action has been very intuitive. It makes sense. And I don't know why, it just clicks. But in my career doing this about 10 years, a lot of filmmakers, at least independent filmmakers, because I have a much more personal relationship with those people, don't necessarily have a good grasp on how to tell stories with action, which was great for me because I was able to barter a lot of cool stuff, barter my way into productions in order to do cool stuff. But so that's my favorite fight scene in a movie.
Well, Hong Kong has always had that sort of way of telling a story through action like that I feel like Western cinema is a little bit behind on.
Yeah. Although that's actually a really interesting thing, if I can riff off on a completely...
Sure.
Again, you can edit this out if you want.
We don't edit. The podcast is the pod. Yeah, like my whole record thing. Yeah, that's going in.
And Chuck almost choking to death too.
Yes, that. I don't know that. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
We got to talk about. We talked about it now.
We're committed.
Yeah.
Oh no, and I've forgotten. What was I going to say?
I was talking about how Hong Kong cinema.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, just the historical relationship between like specifically Western films and samurai films.
Yeah.
And how they've built off each other and like the the extreme close up on the eyes and how
Mm-hmm.
they I forget which one I think it's the samurai film that started
Seven
that.
Samurai, and then they had like Magnificent Seven, which was the Western take on it.
Yep.
And
Yeah. It was just a really cool, like it wasn't, it feels like it was a competition, but like in good humor. Humor is not quite the right word, but like, it wasn't like they were trying to tear each other down.
Yeah, like an homage. It was like, Kurosawa. I mean, he's the inspiration of so many filmmakers out there.
And he's fantastic with directing action.
Oh yeah, yeah. Seven Samurai was probably one of my favorite films of all time. And
it was great.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Harakiri, if you're familiar with that one.
Yeah. I went through a phase where I watched pretty much all of his movies.
Nice.
So yeah.
What's up?
Hi, Chuck.
Chris just turned and looked right at me. He's like,
he's just checking in.
I know. Hey, what's going on? So I want to move on, and we're gonna leave the stunt world. So I want to thank you. Is there anything else you want to talk about that we didn't yet ask you? I mean, I definitely don't want to leave anything hanging because it's been really interesting.
Yeah.
But
well, I will say,
what if somebody wanted to get into it right now? Would be? Let me do with that.
Sure,
you know what? So my son, he wants to get into this. What are the first few steps he should be taking? When he becomes of age, even though they do have young kids that kind of do it, but
they
still.
do, yeah, absolutely. I would say probably the best things you could do. So the three main, or I should say, most common gigs some performers get hired for is fighting, falling, by which I mean footfalls, not so much high falls, although I'm sure we can include that in there too, and driving. So martial arts sounds like an obvious choice. It is. It'll be beneficial. But I would say, do that for sure, but also do dancing, like modern dance in particular, hip hop, anything like that, because again, you're telling a story through body language, through movement.
Okay.
I think those would be the most helpful. And then of course, driving, just
get behind the wheel and go.
Yeah. That's a whole nother skill set.
And especially motorcycles too. Actually, I would say motorcycle work is probably more common than getting behind the wheel of like a sedan or a semi truck or whatever.
Well, there's always a guy on a motorcycle chasing somebody.
Exactly. I mean, how can you not? They're modern horses, basically.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So if you're interested, I mean, hey, there you go. There's a start, I mean, it's been interesting, and it's like, there's so much more we could obviously talk about that you've probably experienced. I mean, we've just scratched the surface.
Getting lit on fire.
What's that?
Getting lit on fire.
Well, that's another podcast. We'll all get lit on fire. Paul will figure it out for us. We'll set it up, and we'll have him come back.
I actually filmed a guy getting lit on fire once.
Your brother?
No.
Oh.
I don't
Come
know.
on, this will be cool, man.
It was actually this guy. He was like this chef. Okay, this is a strange story, but stay with me, okay?
Sure, yeah.
So a very wealthy family in the area hired this chef to come in and cook for them.
Okay.
This guy's name is the Flamboyant Chef. Okay.
Okay.
I like it already.
He comes in, he shoots, like he does all the cooking in the kitchen or whatever, and so I'm shooting this guy, and the whole time he's calling me chef. Like, I think that's like a thing they do in the kitchen. Like, hey chef, you want the beans or whatever it is, So this guy's like, I'm getting like different shots of this guy, and he's just like, oh chef, you get this angle over here, and I'm like, dude, I'm not a chef, I'm a camera guy. What are you talking about? So anyway, then he makes the dinner, they all eat and everything, and then they go outside, and he paints himself up with the contact cement, like I was saying earlier, and lights himself on fire. So
This is on purpose, right?
On purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of his. It's part
he
of
was
his.
bored.
It's part of his deal, I guess. He cooks dinner for you, then he cooks himself, and so. I have I'm just like you said, you get one. I thought I was only going to get one take at this. Okay. So, the first time I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to stay wide and, get what I get, just that way, at least I'll get it, So we do it and it goes well, and, whatever. He's got two guys with him, and they hit him with fire extinguishers and everything. So then he comes running over to me like almost immediately after, and he's like, how was that? He's like still like smoking and everything as he's coming up to me. So then he's like, I'm going to do it again. And I'm like, Okay. I thought I was just going to get one shot at this, but okay. So he comes up, does it again. So I shot it a little bit closer this time or whatever. And then he's like, same thing. He finishes it off and then comes running up to me smoking. And he's like, how was that, chef? And I'm like, that was good. It was good. And he goes, all right, I'm going to do it one more time. I'm like, okay. Third time's the charm, I guess. So the third time, like, I'm just wearing, he's got the padding on, like,
Sure.
Like I forget what he had on, but
It'd be like Nomex and
yeah,
all that sort of
and
stuff.
like I said, the stuff that burns, like the cement that burns off,
Yeah,
or
the
whatever.
accelerant.
Yeah, and so I'm just standing there. It was like wintertime, so I got my winter jacket on, which is probably highly flammable. Like I'm not sure what it was made of, but I'm
Polyester, something perfect that
something
melts.
like that. Yeah,
You definitely don't want to be set on fire wearing that.
yeah. So I'm standing there shooting this thing, and I'm doing it off the shoulder because I think I got like the first couple times I was on the tripod or whatever, so then I put it on my shoulder, and I'm standing there, and he's probably like me to the door away at first, and then he starts just kind of like walking towards me real fast, and he's like literally like I have the camera out as wide as I can, and all that is in the screen is his face. So he's like that close to me, and he's like on fire, and he's like screaming. He had this thing like flamboyant chef hot sauce that he was trying to like
Dear the Lord.
peddle, I guess. He's trying to sell his hot sauce, and he's like screaming it right into the camera. And so then the guy, he's just like screaming into the camera, and he says, I remember he's doing like flamboyant chef hot sauce, flamboyant chef hot sauce, and then he's talking to the guy with the fire extinguisher, and he's like, you can put me out now maybe because I'm feeling my skin burn. And so then like he's literally, I could like touch him, like he's like right there, and then the guy hits him with the fire extinguisher, and then it like comes like right at me.
It covers the camera,
And everything.
Oh no!
And I'm just like, I mean, everything worked out fine because I had the smarts to put the rain diaper on it because I thought something like that might happen. I mean, I don't know. I didn't think he was going to come that. Yeah, I didn't think he was going to come that close.
Yeah.
But whenever there's water involved, I figured I should probably cover this camera. So anyway, that was my lighting on fire story.
Nice.
I didn't actually catch on fire, but I could feel the heat.
Yeah.
I don't have one, so there's
Come on,
that.
Chuck.
I don't have a fire story.
All right, let's go get the stuff.
All right. Yep.
Yeah,
totally.
we'll make my own fire story right now, everybody. We'll be right back in 5 minutes. Hold on. Wait, no, we got to do 3 takes. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So we've got this last part, and it is called the Fast Five for you, Paul.
All right.
Now, we didn't give you these questions. This is something we just do with all of our guests, and it's just 5 random questions that I've come up with through my mind and me searching the internet. And so,
Mind
without
Chuck.
further ado,
Wait, I have a question.
nope.
Okay.
What is it? Go ahead.
How brief should I be with my answers?
As long as you, well,
Off the cuff.
just
Be reasonable with
You can discuss a little. We just let it flow. That's honestly what we do. But
Okay.
as quick as you can be, but we let it go. So this isn't anything about speed. The last time, this is like a 2-minute track right here, and we had to play it 2 times yesterday. So we're okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, so here we go. Your first question is Godfather or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
And I knew that was gonna be too easy after. Yeah.
There's only one right
You
answer
made
to
it
that question.
There weren't enough stunts in Godfather for Paul to be like, yeah. Okay, your next question. You can slow it down a little too, Paul. A little fast here. No. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at wiffle ball?
Ooh. It's been a long time since I've played. I'm gonna say like just 4, I guess.
A 4?
I don't know. Like I feel like the physics of the wiffle ball and the bat and you know, like it's I don't know. I feel like it would throw me off a little bit.
Okay. That's fair. Being honest, I like it. Okay, next question is, if the toilet paper roll is really low but not completely out, do you replace it or leave it for someone else?
No, you don't. You don't replace it because you've got toilet paper that you can
wasting,
still use.
right?
Right.
Yeah, you don't just
Especially in
throw that
2020.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff's gold right now.
No, I might like prep another one or make sure that it's ready to go. But yeah.
Oh, see, now you're being kind. No, you just sit there. It's like, there's more. I'm good. Goodbye. There is paper. Goodbye.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. That's cool. Now, this one I thought you might like. Is it grammatically proper to capitalize the names of seasons?
Ooh,
Ah.
I mean, I do. And I think it should be. If it's not, so I'm gonna say yes. It
Okay.
is.
I don't know the correct answer. It was just a question I came up with. So there you go.
Grammar police.
Okay. And now here's your final question. So we're going to do this for a minute here. And here's what we're going to do. In your best Batman voice, say the following. Here, and you know what? I want you to do it right. So I want you, can you please give that to him? I want this delivered correctly. So I'm going to play this for you quick. Read it while I play this because this is what you're going to get. Okay, so you got the feel, you got the gist of what we're doing here. Okay, so in your best Batman voice, I want to hear that. Are we ready? Here we go. And the music's starting.
It's not who I am underneath,
Ooh.
but what I do that defines me.
Let's go, Robin.
I am the night.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Nandzik. Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. This was great.
So, with that said, anything else you want to add before we head on off here?
Yeah, I will say just on the note, since you asked, and I know your son is at least passingly interested in stunts, anyone who is looking to get started, in addition to what I said before, find workshops and any opportunity you have to connect with people who are already working in the industry. A lot of the people are really willing to give new people a chance, which is different from how it used to be, but that's a whole different podcast.
There you go. Paul Nandzik, thank you so much. Chris, thank you so much for tonight. Hey, everybody, make sure you check out cookiesq.com, DoorDash them, make sure you get that delicious food in. We appreciate listening, and be sure to check out another episode of Bacon on the Rocks next week. We'll see you later.